So guys, Titan Season 2 Episode 1 is back with the episode titled Trigon. Now this episode, honestly from the top of my head, just to give you a little preview of this review to come, the first half, as expected, was kind of, lackluster in the sense being the perfect word of what we expected, with a couple of episodes being cut from the last season. Now that's not to say with the final back half of this episode, I mean you guys saw it yourself if you're watching this review, that back half with Deathstroke and everything else that kind of shone the future of this season and how it's just going to be picking up to be just so bright from here on out is what kind of made up for that first half. Not that I didn't enjoy parts from the first half, but we'll get into that in a second. So if you guys go on to enjoy this video, go ahead and leave a like on it, as it really does show your support for the channel. I've just been dying to give you my thoughts about this video. And of course, subscribe for more Titans videos just like this. So of course, Season 2 Episode 1 picks up directly after the events of the Season 1 finale, with Dick Grayson having given into his darkness by killing Batman. And Trigon now in the world, thanks to Raven, allowing him entry from his interdimensional prison, if you guys remember. But it's not exactly a surprise, which I just teased a second ago, that it was going to quickly wrap up Trigon, which, at short sight is daunting to hear since he is quite a huge threat as a comic book character. But if you've been paying attention to the Titans news, whether it's through this channel or whether it's through other places in the past year, you all know that the main antagonist of Season 2 is Deathstroke, so that means that Trigon would more or less be coming in to only quickly go out of the show, and this resulted with the first episode, at least for the first half or so, feeling a bit rushed, with elements here and there altogether kind of disregarded. However though, despite this, I do feel like given the situation, whether the show dug their own hole or not with what happened last season, I feel like they did do the best that they could have done in that majority part of the episode we're currently on about, given that they needed to jump the stepping stone of Trigon to enter to the actual Season 2 storyline, means that this involved a lot of scrambling together of scenes and reshoots, and just bottom line had an element of gluing and sticking together what they could so it could fit as best as it could. But as I keep saying, it's not without its entertaining moments still. So what we saw in these beginning parts of the episode is that even though Trigon was in our world, he wasn't exactly able to devour it like he has, other planets. Trigon tried to convince Raven that everyone she loved will leave her and that nothing lasts, and with Raven's heartbreak, he will then be able to devour the world. We can't forget from the events of last episode where Starfire and Donna Troy were, they were just kind of outside. If you remember, Dick Grayson ran in, and whilst these characters were just trying to bash in Trigon's force field, with Hank and Dawn shortly arriving soon as well. And if you've somewhat forgotten what happened there, if you remember, after Rachel woke Dove up from her coma, they needed to find Jason Todd, and let's talk about that. I absolutely loved seeing Jason Todd riding one of Bruce Wayne's motorcycles in Wayne Manor. It was literally like a kid when your parents have gone out and just causing absolute chaos, but imagine your father's Batman and you have all of these toys to play with. And with Bruce being away, and I'll always say I love hearing this stuff every single time, that Bruce was away with Alfred halfway across the world on Justice League business. And there was a couple of references with, stuff like that in this episode. Not as much as like Doom Patrol, but I'm sure there will be lots of stuff. I mean, to be honest, after this scene, I was just kind of left wondering about what Jason said, like where that tracker is, the second tracker in Dick Grayson, because he removed the first one that he apparently would never find. But at this point in the episode, this is when everyone is together and they're going through the force field because Trigon allows it. He thinks through them inevitably giving into their darkness, it would only quicken Raven's journey to heartbreak, which Trigon needs in order to screw the Earth up. Yet again, guys, another brilliant line from Hank, who, just having learned the gravity of the situation of having this interdimensional demon, said instead of getting Robin, the kid should have told us to get effing Superman. And if you didn't know already, apparently we're meant to be getting Superman in this season, but just kind of in a Batman Season 1 shadowy-esque kind of way. Now also on a quick note, Seamus Devers, who plays Trigon, was really good for as little as we had him, if not better than he was before. But as he got to fully play around with his rise to power in the world, despite how actually, as I just said, little we saw of him, which really is a shame, but yet again expected with what we knew was to come with this first episode quickly wrapping things up. Now I found the following moments of the episode pretty cool, with the different elements they introduced to each achieve this with each character who has now entered the house having their own kind of version of a reality manipulation in an effort for them to embrace their darkness, like we saw Dick Grayson do in the season 1 finale by killing Batman. So at first we saw Starfire's vision to be actually her killing Raven, as in this sequence Raven begged for her to kill her as a resolution to everything, which she does give into. With Donna Troy we got a really cool flashback to the day she lost her father, and in this vision she finds the arsonist and gives in to her want for revenge, and so kills him in like a blind rage. And this is kind of what I want, even though this isn't a proper flashback. One of my wants for Titan season 2 was more Donna Troy kind of flashbacky stuff, and I think we're going to get that. Now, Hank and Dawn's was like this shared manipulation, and it was very brief. Hank gave some drugs to Dawn to take away the pain following the scenes of the flashbacks that we saw last season, with Hank and Dawn beating up that coach who abused Hank when he was younger, and as a result it really sickened Dawn, and in so doing, giving her the drugs, he kind of resolved into his own darkness. But Jason Todd's scene was probably the coolest for me because it kind of tied into Dick Grayson's reality manipulation and how it showed a crumbled Batcave with Batman dead, except the twist being that Dick Grayson killed Batman before he went on that killing spree to the Joker and his rogues gallery, like in the season 1 finale, if you guys remember. But the thing is, with these reality manipulations, you can't forget that this isn't necessarily just the Titans giving in to like human emotion or even something they would actually do. This is heavily influenced by Trigon, something you can just also tell with him implementing Dick Grayson's vision from season 1 narrative into Jason. If they were in their right mind, what I'm trying to say is they wouldn't have done these acts that each of them followed through with in each vision, and with this one being Jason Todd shooting and killing Dick Grayson. I thought it was really cool how much action Jason's scene had, just given that it was Robin versus Robin, something this show does extremely well. I mean, I always praise their stunt work. It's one of the best things about Titans. I thought it was a really sweet touch, Jason using the gun that killed Bruce's parents to kill Dick Grayson. And even though Dick Grayson said Bruce wouldn't really keep that loaded, and Jason said that doesn't mean that he wouldn't, I really wonder if that part is true, and actually in the real world, Jason Todd pulled from like a fact of real life. Despite this reality manipulation, maybe he keeps that pistol loaded in the Batcave just in case of anything. Now, due to all of this, in the real world, we had a real Rachel and Gar running away from, as what Gar said, a real life horror movie with a scary, corrupt Dick Grayson in pursuit. Now, everything at this moment seems just a little bit lackluster and rushed, but I don't really need to repeat myself as to why with what I mentioned earlier. Now, ultimately, Gar was kind of attacked and just kept getting beaten to near death by all the corrupt Titans. And this is where Rachel's heart broke because she was more or less at a loss for what to do, and as a result, freaking Trigon took her heart out, punctured it, absorbed it, and placed the gem on Raven's head, and in so doing allowing her the power as well to rule the world with Trigon. So like Rachel at this point has been upgraded like tenfold. And this is when Trigon takes full CG form, and I have to say this is truly a Justice League level threat. Okay, that was a bit cheesy, that one. Now, to be honest, since when I saw this episode, I saw other reviewers or just, early screening access people saying that the CG wasn't that great in this episode, and specifically referencing Trigon. I get it, but I didn't think it was as bad as what everyone is making it out to be. For example, Legends of Tomorrow, Malus, that demon, like that CGI level, it wasn't that bad. However, what I will say is that his Trigon look to comic book accuracy really wasn't so much of a thing. Now, I'm also not so fussed there in terms of adaptations don't have to copy and paste looks, but I totally get the other side of things because, for fans who want more of a comic book accurate look, especially with this Trigon, because he quite literally didn't even have really the horns. They weren't quite there, no hair, he wasn't that red, no curved teeth. I mean, I suppose he had the eyes, but but other than that, the CGI was more crisp than that of the CW, for example. Now, at this point, Trigon kills Rachel's mother. F's in the chat for her, but I don't really care, to be honest. And he essentially walks the earth with everything kind of dying in his wake, and I believe it kind of put that black and white effect on everything, which I thought was pretty cool. But all in all, I completely kind of get both sides to this. I thought, going into this, we weren't going to get this much Trigon. But yeah, somebody said to me, it kind of looks like Thanos with, slapped horns on him, and it's kind a little bit true. Now at this point in the episode, everything's somewhat blatantly changed. I don't know if you guys noticed. I know some people like the blue tint, like hue to the episode's filter. Some people hate it. There was even more emphasized blue filter in earlier parts of the episode, but at this point everything just changed. Like it went clear, like no filter, even though it kind of came back again. But either way, I just kind of suspect that it was down to the fact that this was probably newly shot scenes following Trigon's rise. I mean, another thing, Beast Boy's hair looks completely different after he got out of his snake form, but how did I totally forget to talk about that? Now Beast Boy's snake form, I thought it was really cool, but I have to admit, as cool as it was only used in a moment of him kind of peeking around to make sure there wasn't any danger about, and then before you knew it, it was over. But nevertheless, it's kind of like a freaking awesome moment for Beast Boy. But, you know, I feel like maybe they should have waited for a more awe-defining moment in the scene in a future Badass episode, because, as I keep saying, the back half of the episode, I feel, sets up the infrastructure for the awesomeness that is Titan Season 2 that you guys have been seeing in the trailers. Now, this is when Gar managed to get through to Rachel even in her evil demonic mode, and who, after snapping out of this, managed to do the same with Dick Grayson. I did think it was nice how they referenced the actual reasons as to why she even had that dream about Dick Grayson in the first place in Season 1. If you guys remember with the Flying Graysons in Episode 1, and I even poetically weaved that in for this saving moment for Dick Grayson, because if he let her fall, she would die, and it was just the way he came out of it was a nice callback to the early season of Titans. Now this is when we saw Rachel go to confront her fairly thick father Trigon, and this is when another thing came to my mind. I don't know if you guys remember this. They kind of somewhat overlooked the fact that they dropped last season that Raven would need to kind of go through this like 300 days of intense training. Not that I thought this would happen anyway this season, but they obviously mentioned that in Season 1 towards the end, with perhaps different plans for how like this would go down. But you know, it didn't. But with this confrontation, we kind of just had Rachel, who was gifted an insane demonic upgrade from her father, and without him, I guess, being aware of it, since, you know, the last time he saw her was in evil mode, but thanks to Beast Boy, she could just kind of walk up to him and just say bye-bye, and that was the last we saw of Trigon. It also wasn't very clear how this iteration handled his defeat, in terms of that there was a big outburst of energy, and it seemed as though he was being banished to his back to his interdimensional prison. And Raven was really badass in this scene. Like, this scene was great for her, but it just also felt very quick and felt as though it kind of put down the character of Trigon with how seemingly easy it was. But now being upgraded ever since she had the gem on her head, and now defeating her father, she's been acting a little bit kind of different. Not too different, but albeit just a little bit different. And I assume that we will see her struggle with her father's influence over her in the season, and this could maybe be why she's acting a little bit different there as well. Now, of course, we get the Titans are back bitches moment, and the Titans kind of say goodbye to Starfire and Hank and Dawn, all of which will be reunited, obviously, with the upcoming threat of Deathstroke. But, you know, just a quick little side thought here. I don't get why they didn't include this all in Season 1. And then just start, you know, even the upcoming scene that I'm about to talk about, where it just panned to Deathstroke's cabin. That could have been the after credits scene, along with Superboy. You know, with him seeing Jason Todd's reaction on TV. Then bang, close, wait a year for the Season 2. And then, do you know what I mean? That just would have made more sense. I don't understand. It just felt like there was an ending in Season 2, Episode 1, but now we're starting Season 2, Episode 1 in the last 20 minutes. I think that's the main issue. But now from everything here on out, it establishes that new vibe that I'm so excited about. So as I just mentioned, this is when it cuts Deathstroke's cabin in the middle of a forest, and I guess where he's left this part of his life behind him, and he is triggered after seeing the message from Robin on the news. But I have to say, Esai Morales, not Morales, but you know what I mean, he looks the part. He is so in shape. He just looks like he was made for Deathstroke, with his, like, you know, a disgruntled Deathstroke, if you know what I mean, with the eye patch, and how he's just, man, I'm just so excited for this guy. I think he's going to give us a very good Deathstroke. I don't want to say anything too much there to annoy maybe Arrow fans, but who knows? It could very well be the best live action one to date, but we'll have to wait and see. All I can say is that he looks freaking kick-ass. He looks the part. Now, as a result of Deathstroke seeing Jason Todd on screen, he returns to his actual home for where he resides while he's living the Deathstroke life, and he's had inquiries for his services since he was kind of retired, but he's declined those jobs, and we get to see everything Deathstroke, his suit, his guns, and more. And guys, you have to agree with me. How badass did that suit look up close like that? It just, oh my god. I need to stop because I'm going to keep fanboying out. And lastly, everyone, so it's kind of a long review, but I couldn't help it. It's a season 2 premiere. We kind of knew Ian Glenn would be in this episode, but it just felt really, really cool finally seeing these scenes between Dick Grayson and Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne after just seeing a shadowy Batman all of last season. I have to admit as well, it was kind of weird hearing Ian Glenn's American accent. However, he definitely does remind me of a Kevin Conroy kind of Bruce Wayne in the way that he just kind of spoke with Dick Grayson and his Bruce Wayne demeanor. I was kind of eyeing it up for a bit at first, but I definitely landed on the side that I can really see his version of Bruce Wayne showing through. This is when we got to see Dick Grayson talk to Bruce about why he left, as they never really had a chance to discuss it since they kind of didn't leave it on the best of terms, and how he's now acknowledged that Bruce wasn't responsible for all of the darkness in him as he initially thought. The whole reconciliation aspect of this scene for Dick Grayson was just so intriguing, with him saying how Bruce did the best that he could with the training, and it was just fascinating even seeing that this Bruce Wayne isn't exactly a great father figure. I mean, he's incredible being Batman, he's excellent at being Batman, but as quite traditionally in the comics, he always, the mask is actually Bruce Wayne. And ultimately, I thought this was a really touching scene. There was really feelsy music in the background, and it just made me really love the dynamic between these two characters already, having literally only just seen them for the first time together. I mean, Dick Grayson also gets the Titans Tower back, but with the condition that he brings Jason Todd along. But my concluding thoughts on this review, guys, is that compared to the first part of the episode, with the second part of the episode, it had me feeling excited. It really did. When the Young Titans arrived in the Titans Tower, it definitely sets a positive tone for the rest of the season going forward. I mean, not even to mention the Deathstroke teasers before, but just at these closing moments of episode 1, I just felt very excited, as I just said, but as though I felt as excited as the new Titans were when they were just strolling around the Titans Tower. But that is everything, guys. I know this has been a long review, but I just had so much to say about it. I'm so passionate about this show. I hope you guys kind of feel that through the screen, and I would love for you to share your passionate kind of comments, whether they're good or whether they're bad, on episode 1 down in the comments below. But other than that, if you enjoyed this video, guys, like it. It really does help the videos out. Subscribe for more Titans reviews, plus news updates and other kind of comic book nerdy stuff. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I'll see you Titans in the next video. Goodbye.